How's it going today, you guys? So, however you may feel about the current iteration of Warzone, or the previous two, I think we can all agree that nothing has hit like the first Warzone on the OG map, Verdansk. I want to dive into reasons other maps didn't work, why Verdansk did, how some newer features could affect Verdansk coming back, and how some of these problems could be solved. But first, let's dive into my history in Warzone. So, in the summer of 2020, I played my very first game of Warzone with a friend. I had played Call of Duty for years, and I was obviously familiar with the idea of arena shooters. And I had been playing Call of Duty since I was 17. But when I hopped into that first game, I had no clue what was going on. I had never played a battle royale up to this point. Even though I wasn't really impressed with the game mode myself, all of my friends started playing it. So naturally, I wanted to play with them, so Warzone kind of became regular. And I had no clue how hooked I would get on this game. Just before the very first hunting event, in that very first match, one of my first questions was, so can you get your custom loadouts, or is it pretty much just the guns on the floor? Now again, I had never played Battle Royale, let alone Warzone. I didn't even understand the point or base fundamentals of Warzone. I mean, I had no clue what armor was, the gas circle, let alone the last man standing is the one who wins the game. I was running around with a R90 with a VLK and the Ram 9. So I died pretty quickly. As my friends played more, I definitely tried to get them to play more of the LTMs, like Plunder, trying to stick more to game modes that closely resembled multiplayer. That's what I was familiar with, and that's kind of what I wanted to stick with. And realistically, I always felt like such a burden when playing BR with them. Eventually, I got tired of being a burden and looked up how battle royales worked, eventually leading me to Iceman Isaac. I watched his very first pinwheel rotation video, which, if we're being honest, was far more advanced than what I should have been watching at the time. I also tried playing a lot of solos, landing near farms or anywheres that wasn't heavily contested, going the longest time without seeing another player, eventually dying to someone else who was doing the pinwheel rotation correctly. That's how I got into this game, part of why I tried to get better, how I mainly became a solo player, because none of my friends at this point play Warzone anymore. But here I am, 5 years later, still playing to some capacity, hoping the game can get back to how it used to be in the days of Verdansk. So much has changed between redeploy balloons, redeploy tokens, stationary loot, water, lootable perks, horizontal zips, and the list goes on. I could make a whole video on just how much has changed from the OG Verdansk till now. Even with Verdansk coming back in March 2025, the nostalgia may be there for a week, and people will probably enjoy it, but I would be lying if I said that I couldn't see that falling off within a month or two. And I could see people saying it doesn't feel the same, and they'd be right. Look at the new Superstore on Urzikstan. Sure, it has a general layout just like the original one, but it's got a lot of changes done to it. Some for the better, some for the worse. So changes will be made, and the game won't flow the same because it will be updated with new features. Now, you know why Verdansk saw such success, where other maps didn't? Well, it was simple. No, really, it was simple. The map itself was simple. It wasn't overly complicated. There wasn't a mountain to climb every single match. There wasn't AI on the map that could kill you. And it wasn't over congested with urban environments, for example, shacks, random buildings, and there wasn't an overabundance of water. Now, every map has had their own set of problems, but so did Verdansk. Verdansk had a lot of open space, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. But that open space made power positions a key component of how the game was played. If you were to ask me to rate the maps from best to worst, I would rate Verdansk, El Mazrah, Urzikstan, and then Caldera. And I know I probably will get grilled for that because there's definitely going to be people who are going to disagree with that. Now, Verdansk was built more like a bowl, if you will, with a lot of the higher geographical points being near the edge of the map. Peaks on Verdansk were less of points of interest and more of natural terrain to traverse as you were rotating. El Mazrah was a good map. Its biggest problem was the gameplay features and mechanics that were shared between MW2. It also saw a similar problem with, what was it called, Zaya Complex, as Caldera did. Urzikstan is far too cluttered, though as far as the three maps are concerned, it more closely resembles Verdansk than any other one. And Caldera, well, it was built with a mountain in the center and tons of foliage with no memorable points of interest except for Peak. I actually never minded the foliage, and I thought it was kind of dumb when they got rid of it. My point to all of this is each year Warzone gets staler. Exciting at first, but that excitement falls off quickly. But I think I have some ideas of what could help with that. And the funny thing is, with each new map there has been tons of bitching about we want Verdansk, but it is the entire Call of Duty's community's fault. And when I say we, I mean me included. We all bitched about Verdansk, especially when they simply updated it to Verdansk 84. But at last, we are getting it back this March, but I don't think it will play the same with all the new features, and I could see problems in gameplay. Now, what kind of problems? Well, I'm glad you asked. I've actually thought a lot on this subject, and I have a list of possible problems that we could see with these new features and how they could be changed to better the upcoming Verdansk map. So let's dive right into it. Albeit redeploy balloons, now called redeploy drones, made Caldera exciting and easier to traverse. On a map like Verdansk, it could be a problem. Now, vehicles used to be king on Verdansk, but with worse vehicles now than in the first Warzone, driving around on the map is obsolete. You can cover more ground with a drone and not show your position on the minimap. Not only that, but when we think of spots on Verdansk or power positions, that in quotation, spots like stadium, top of airport, AFC Tower near airport, all the tall buildings in downtown, prison, even TV station. Redeploy drones make it far too easy to contest these positions, and shouldn't players be rewarded for moving early? Even if they stayed there all game, shouldn't it be their right to play like that? So it may be a good idea to limit or put a price on drones in Verdansk. The next best thing I could come up with is to exclusively have portable redeploy drone beacons as something you could get from RNG, loot crates, or the buy station. Now let's move on to the final circle mechanics of the game. There was a point where the circle would continue to move for a long period of time before we finally got to the closing circle portion. Then in Warzone 2.0, it changed, like a lot of things. In addition to the backpack systems, you can now store up to 5 self-revives, and you could just outlast them in the gas. These wins don't feel really rewarding. Thankfully, with Season 1 of Black Ops 6, the backpacks are leaving. Now, in addition to making a change to how the final gas circles work, it would be nice if we changed how the gas affects you damage-wise. It used to not kill you so quickly. Now, I get it. We used to have stim glitches, and this was kind of their way of fighting against it. Hopefully that's something that is now fixed, especially being 2-3 games newer. Also, with Warzone 2, we got the addition of water. Now, on El Mazrah, there was way too much. And in Urzikstan, it got a lot better as far as the land to water coverage. So, let's not overdo it on Verdansk. Small stream that you can walk through will be fine, and some bigger bodies of water down near the lower portion of the map and up at Dam. But let's not have a river flowing through Verdansk. Less is more in this case. Now, this next thing I want to say started in Caldera, coming out with a Gulag gun. Now, I have always thought that this was a stupid change, especially based off of whatever is meta. The idea that someone can land on you with the most broken gun in the game seems ridiculous. Now, sure, someone lands on me with a pistol and takes me out, whatever, I deserve the L. But, in my opinion, it's just dumb that you can land on someone with, let's just call out, at one point, the NZ41 in Caldera was the meta. And that was a Gulag gun. And you could kill someone in, 5 shots? Now, continuing the conversation as far as weapons are concerned, sniper rifles need to make a comeback. We made a good start with MW3, but realistically, any sniper rifle that is bolt action should one-shot. Otherwise, it just makes every other sniper feel like crap and pointless to have in the game. And the change that we made for sniper rifles in MW2 to where explosive ammunition would give them a one-shot potential at any range, I would be fine if we did that for marksman rifles that were bolt action, keeping the idea that they would one-shot within a certain damage range normally. And then finally, the best version of Warzone had only 2 games worth of guns in it. That being the Black Ops Cold War era of Warzone. Now, when the new game's guns are added to Warzone, I believe, regardless of however many paid skins you have, that the MW2 guns should be vaulted. And then, maybe after a couple seasons, bring out a couple here and there as, let's call them legacy guns. And the reason I say this is because if we think of Caldera, the moment Vanguard guns were added to the game, all of the Modern Warfare 2019 guns, except for the sniper rifles, were useless. Personally, I would rather have skins I paid for leave the game than not be able to use them in the first place. Especially since the meta is generally that harsh. This would also be a great way to finally close out the chapter that was Warzone 2.0 for good. Now, I know a lot of things on the new Verdansk map will probably have already been set in stone and those changes can't be made. And I'm sorry if in the beginning and towards the end I got a little off track. I just wanted to give a little bit of background to my experience playing Warzone and the game from start till now. This is just what I think can help, and I say this in quotations, save Warzone. If you've watched this far, I do appreciate it, and let me know down in the comments what you think. If you agree, disagree, or if you have anything else that you can add to the conversation of what you think could save Warzone. Anyways, that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.